everybody, Susie here again with some more quarantine self-care. We're reaching the end of week 3 since closing, so I hope everybody is still doing okay thus far. Remember, if you need anything at all, don't hesitate to get in touch. That includes if you have any questions about these videos. Today I'm going to go over a couple of techniques for the hands, wrists, and forearms. At the same time, I'm going to throw in an extra technique or two for the neck, shoulder, and upper arm that I forgot to throw in last week. So these techniques are going to be really good for anybody who's working from home at the computer, any essential workers who are still working, like manual laborers and some healthcare workers, just to name a few, who don't have massage therapy to, turn to during this time. People who have arthritis and other hand conditions, this will be really great to kind of relieve some of that pain. And honestly, it's just going to be good for everybody because guaranteed we are all spending so much more time on our phones. We all need to know what the latest is on this coronavirus situation, and guaranteed we're talking to more people that we maybe haven't reached out to in a while. More texting, more talking on social media, more FaceTiming, even holding the phone out. So all of these techniques are going to be really great at helping with just all of those conditions and just really bring a little bit of relief. I'll even show you a little technique for headaches. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is show the techniques, and then after going through some of them, we'll show you kind of what I do. Going with the flow, it's sort of like a Tai Chi, what I do in my normal massage. So you can take each individual technique that I show and adapt it to your liking and what fits with whatever you're feeling. So, all right, let's get into it. All right, so there's only a couple things that you're really going to need. Your hands, that's the most important tool. Some lotion, and if you want, you can use one of the tools that I showed last week, which is the pen or pencil, whatever utensil you have, just to kind of get into some of those knots like I showed you last week. If you want and you have the ball, you can also use a ball to kind of roll out your forearms, but I'm not going to show any techniques. I'm going to mostly just use my own hands. All right, so when you do this, you can do one arm and one hand at a time, or you can switch back and forth. If I have a preference, I would say do back and forth. That way you don't finish up with the one hand and then the other hand hurts. So you're kind of evening them out at the same time. Just put a little bit of lotion. And again, you can do this without lotion. It might be a little more rough for some techniques. However, myofascial release is usually done without lotion. So it's really whatever your preference is. If you have really dry skin, it might not be good. So right now, all I'm doing is kind of spreading the lotion out evenly, just like I do in a regular massage. And we'll go all the way up to your elbows. You want to try to get on both sides. All right. Now, we'll start with techniques in the hands. So again, you can use your pen to kind of go around or hold trigger points. And you can also use your thumbs, but we talked about thumbs last week about just being careful. Don't hyperextend your thumb and don't put too much pressure on it. But you can do small circles up and around. You want to get the entire pad of the thumb. You can just do what's known as stripping, which is basically just back and forth, back and forth. You might notice a couple little knots in there. That's okay. You know, if you want to hold on them, you can. Don't do it for too long. You know, they could melt, they could not. You know, don't force it though. You just want to bring yourself a little bit relief and leave the rest to the experts. Nice circles. Now, as I mentioned, this spot right here is really good for headaches. That's an acupressure point. So if you have a headache, you can just hang out right there. And after a couple minutes, the headache should dissipate a little bit. Sometimes even completely. This muscle just also gets really tight. This is it's your thenar muscle, so it's the muscle you use when you text. So that tends to be a very tight muscle. So you want to work that really good. And again, you just rock back and forth. Adjust your pressure, you know, based off of what you can handle. Okay, then in the palm, but close to the wrist, kind of where all these carpal bones are. Do little circles. And I mentioned this in the video last week. In school, we were usually taught to do things in threes, especially for Swedish massage. It doesn't have to be that way, but it's a good rule of thumb in the event you're like, well, how long should I be doing this? Here I'm just rocking back and forth, right? And then what I'll do is I'll switch. I guess this kind of turned into me demonstrating the flow while showing techniques, and that's okay. So now I'm going over to this thumb. And working in there. And notice how I'm not using my thumb. I'm using the pads of these fingers. So again, it's whatever's comfortable, whatever's going to cause the least amount of injury to yourself. This is self-massage to make yourself feel better, not to make yourself feel worse. Getting in there, holding there. That one's good. I'm a lefty, so my left hand is much tighter. Okay, and then again, right in the palms. Now you could also use these knuckles. Sometimes that feels a little bit better. I'm just rocking back and forth. And then I'll get my entire fist again. Like I'm about to do a bow. And then push down. You know, these techniques are all going to be really good too, because I'm sure a lot of us have clenched fists these days, and let me tell you, doing a self-massage is a lot healthier than punching something or someone. Alright, and then you want to get your fingers too, so we'll do what's known as milking the digits. This is just a like light relaxing technique. You're not doing anything crazy. You're just gently like you're milking a cow. You know, back and forth, back and forth. And then not everybody has crooked fingers like myself. Genetics can be funny. All right, so now if you want, you can do this on a significant other as well. So with this next technique, if you're doing it on somebody else, it's this motion back and forth. It's the same on yourself, but if you're doing it on somebody else, you're going to be using two hands. So just in between each of your knuckles, you're rocking back and forth like this. And get all the way down into your hand. And then you want to strip in between your fingers. Strip. Just doing long strokes, long straight strokes. Do it on this side too. And again, because of the way that the camera is, it'll be a lot easier to do when you're just relaxed on your couch. You can just do it like that. All right, how's everybody's hands feeling? Now we'll go into the wrist. It's not too much. I mean, the wrist really isn't that big of a space, but you can do some rotation. My wrists crack a lot. But 12 years of massage therapy, almost 13, will do that to you. If you want, you can do the rest of this part laying on a surface or laying your arm on a surface. I have a pile of books here, but if you have like a table or something like that that's at a comfortable height, you can do the rest of this for the wrist and the forearm on the table. So you can go into your wrist while you're working the carpal bones and go right into the hand. And you can see my hand. So I'm concentrating right in the wrist. I'm going to do a combination of down here and up in the air. Some techniques won't be so easy to show while they're laying down like that. So if you want, you can do some stretching. So get both your flexors and your extensors. Okay, so now we're going to work on the forearms. So you can do this again laying on a surface or leaning up against yourself. If you're hanging out on the couch, you can just support your arm on yourself. So a couple of really good techniques is taking your fist and going up towards your elbow. For the extremities, most of the time you want to go up towards the heart. If you're not doing anything super aggressive and you don't have like high blood pressure or are on blood thinners, it's okay if you do a technique or two that is towards the wrist. Sometimes that feels really nice, doing like a C clasp and going down towards your hand. It's not really imperative that you do it up towards the heart, but try to do more of the techniques in a up fashion versus down fashion. All right, so like I said, take that fist, go up towards the elbow. Do that a couple of times. Make sure you're getting the entire surface of your forearm. Again, you can do it like this. Now that's going down towards your wrist, which is fine, but if you're going to go up, flip over. Again, make sure you get the entire surface area. All right, now, I know there's a lot of people out there who have trigger point right in the elbow. Well, I have a tattoo, but, you know, right in this spot where the bends. Okay. That's a really good trigger point. If you find yourself with a little bit of pain or some numbness, you can lightly hold it and rock your arm back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Or you can take your thumb and rock it lightly back and forth. And you'll feel that muscle and you'll feel that tightness right under your fingers. And again, any questions about what you're doing, you know, I would be happy to go over it with you. Video chat, you know, text message, sent a picture, whatever you need. You can go down the entire forearm like that. Again, in the air. Or rock back and forth while leaning on a surface. Like I was saying before with the C clasp, that gets both sides all the way down to the wrist. If you have tightness in your wrist and your hand, usually you'll feel a couple of like crunches or slight adjustments. Your wrists may crack like mine do quite often. You can stretch your wrist. We did that. So what I'm doing, I'm holding and bringing down and then changing hand position and up. It's a good stretch as well. Let's see. You could do circles as well on your forearms. Especially up in here, you could do some circles just hanging out right there. Now if you were going to go back and forth between each arms, you could do something like this. that's just a short version of kind of what I would do, going through the techniques. You can also just do a little bit of compression. Now, it's important to make sure that you are not hyperextending your wrist, whatever techniques you are doing. You don't want to hyperextend it this way. You don't want to hyperextend it this way. This way is a lot easier to hyperextend when you're doing massage movements. If you can, you want to keep what's known as keeping everything stacked, so on top of one another. It's a little bit hard depending on what angle you are working at, but do your best to kind of keep everything. You don't want it to the wrist to bend too much, because then you're doing more harm than good. Do some compression. See, that's what I mean. Don't do that. Just down, and you're just compressing into your skin and going down slightly. And then if you want to be really nice, you can finish it off with a little bit of feathering. That makes it feel like a real massage, right? Because it ends with the feathering. And there you have it. There's your hands, wrists, and forearms. Just a little simple massage to bring you some relief. Now we're just going to go over a technique or two that I left out for the upper arm and neck. All right, so kind of what you're going to do if you're having some pain under the arm, you can hold right under the armpit, kind of like you're grasping your chicken wing. And usually there's a really good trigger point, like hiding under there. I'm sure some of my clients have felt it when I've dug under the armpit. So just hold wherever. And if there's not a trigger point, or even if you just hold like right outside and not grasping, if that's uncomfortable, just hold right outside and stretch. And do it nice and slow, and remember your breathing. Inhale on the stretch, exhale on the release. And then you can go into the front, like if your pecs are bothering you as well. You can grasp this muscle and kind of rock back and forth, grasping what you can. A little bit of circles like I showed last time into the pec. And then you want to work into the deltoid as well. Usually there's some good knots hanging out in there too. Just do a little cross fiber friction, which is doing a little bit more rapid of back and forth and multi-directional, for the fibers, which again, please do not take this as an official massage lesson. If you want to just do small circles and hang out if you feel a trigger point, that's fine. You can also move your arm back and forth. A lot of people have a good knot right there. They don't all have a zombie bite. So you can get that one. That's a good one for the tennis ball though. Or the back buddy. You know, just rock. And the most important thing for all of this is just listen to your body. If your body says that's too much pressure, it's too much pressure. You always want it to be hurt so good. If it goes over that threshold, it might be too much. I know, you know, sometimes I beat some of you up, and I know some of you think that the harder the better, and that's what your body needs, but it's not always what your body needs. So the most important thing is to listen to your body. And just use your intuition when it comes to self-massage. If you feel something that kind of feels like a knot and it's a little painful, it could be a trigger point. Sorry, my battery's running low. Yeah. So another one you want to do, you can stretch your neck. Better way to stretch your neck is to look in the opposite direction, or look in one direction, I should say. Look up and back a little bit. Then take your opposite hand from where you're looking, grab the side of your head, and pull back. You want to hold it for about 2 to 3 seconds. And of course, always remember your breathing, but that is a great stretch for your neck. So, I think that's about it. You have a good arsenal to get you through your arms and your hands, and a little bit more of your shoulder and your upper back. Next time we'll go over the foot and the lower leg, and then we will also do some stretching. I'm trying to think of some additional videos, so if you have any ideas, please feel free to send me an email or write in the comments, and let me know what you think. Have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye.